For example, the Association of Equipment Manufacturer Executives has reported that its members lose 1 in 3 Chinese buyers invited to attend major U.S. trade shows because their visas are denied, even though many of them have previously visited the United States on buying missions without incident. And meanwhile, Boeing recently had to delay the delivery of a $250 million air freighter, because an inspector from the Chinese Aviation Authority didn't receive his visa on time. And Westinghouse, which is selling nuclear power plants to China, selling and building nuclear power plants to China, was not able to get one of its customers, one of its buyers for these nuclear power plants, to come to the United States to consult with Westinghouse engineers. Why would the Chinese want to engage with Westinghouse in the future for other nuclear power plants, especially when we're trying to get the Chinese to reduce their emissions of greenhouse gases and reduce their reliance on coal generation? Historically, processing for these visas could be done in a matter of weeks, but recently the time has stretched to as much as 4 months. The U.S. government has already made some tentative progress in improving the situation. I compliment the Department of State. But we have created an interagency task force with the State Department and other federal agencies that will keep national security paramount while further improving the visa process. Yet another area where red tape is challenging the American businesses and American security is our export control regime. Earlier this year, former National Security Advisor Brent Scowcroft chaired a distinguished panel convened by the National Academy of Sciences to look into this issue, and the report flatly declared, quote, "The national security controls on science and technology are broken." The panel concluded that our Cold War era export control system has constrained both U.S. companies and military capabilities from expanding into new fields and from applying new scientific developments. Our export control system seeks to make us safer by preventing sensitive items from falling into the hands of those who would seek to do us harm. And we need to continue that effort. But we must adapt to America's changing security needs without inhibiting the competitiveness of U.S. companies. That competitiveness is critical to both our economic and national security. When so many of these goods that are on the sensitive list can be readily purchased from countries, Canada or Europe, it's hurting the success and viability of American companies. It makes no sense. Commerce has already begun to implement programs that will reduce the export licensing burden on U.S. companies. For example, earlier this year, we announced the first validated end user in India. The validated end user program was designed to facilitate high technology trade in India and China by enabling certain items to be transferred without individual export licenses, by licensing specific companies to receive such items. But more can be done. Of course, commerce is not just concerned with helping American companies get their products into foreign markets, because once they get there, we want to ensure they receive the same rigorous intellectual property protections they would have here at home in the United States. Despite America's remarkable dependence on innovation for future growth, the current system for protecting U.S. intellectual property, both domestically and internationally, is fraying at the seams. Every year, American companies in fields as diverse as energy technology, entertainment, and pharmaceuticals lose between $200 to $250 billion to counterfeiting or piracy. That is simply unacceptable. And as this troubling trend is not just a problem for U.S. companies, as companies in developing countries increasingly move up the economic value chain, they too will want protection of their ideas and innovations. There are a series of steps the Department of Commerce can and will take to improve America's IP regime. From reforming the U.S. Patent Office, we've got to significantly reduce the processing time to get a patent, to helping shape upcoming congressional intellectual property legislation. But fundamentally, our efforts need to begin with better enforcement. And that's why the United States is fortunate to have such a talented and tough negotiator in our U.S. Trade Representative, Ron Kirk. Ron and I will be working closely together on this issue for a long time to come. But it's important, it's critical, we cannot let up. Enforcement of trade agreements is a key element in the plan to rebuild support for trade. We must ensure that U.S. stakeholders reap the full benefits of these agreements and that our exporters know that we will have their backs. Commerce's Trade Agreements Compliance Program will play an important role in this monitoring and enforcement work. There's one final step that must be taken in order to increase the amount of goods and services that America sends to foreign markets. We need to use every lever of the U.S. government to promote our exports. Whether that involves our Secretary of State writing a letter on behalf of an American company that wants to do business in Russia, or our Department of Energy helping to facilitate renewable energy partnerships between U.S. companies and the Chinese government. Every federal department has a role to play in promoting American business, which translates into jobs here at home. As the Secretary of Commerce, I'm the chairman of the Trade Promotion Coordinating Committee, which has worked for over 15 years to unify export promotion and export financing activities of the U.S. government. Over 20 different federal agencies have representatives on this committee. But we need to really revitalize this committee and really invigorate it and bring their full resources to bear to promote the sale of U.S. goods and services abroad. Let me end tonight by saying that the trade priorities I've talked about, visa reform, export control review, intellectual property protection, intergovernmental trade promotion, these will help U.S. companies increase exports while setting the country on a path to long-term economic sustainable growth that creates jobs here at home. And with the federal government fully engaged in promoting American exports and trade, I'm confident that our businesses will be able to capitalize on emerging opportunities all across the globe. Looming problems from climate change to aging populations demand all the ingenuity that we can muster. And there are so many problems facing the globe that are a perfect match for our prowess, our ingenuity, our innovations, our products and services. A win-win. Creating jobs here at home, exporting products and services that can raise the standard of living around the world and address such things as climate change. No country has a monopoly on the knowledge that we need. So we must make it easier for our entrepreneurs and our innovators to cooperate and collaborate with one another no matter where they live. This task is a lot easier thanks to WITA and its members. So thank you for having me here tonight. Thank you for the great work that you do. And again, congratulations to Congressman Crowley and Congressman Brady for the much well-deserved awards. Have a great evening. Thank you very much.